Hello, it's good to see you. Today we are back with the list of questions that I wanted to answer in the live stream, but I didn't really get too many of them. Some of these I may have already answered, but some of these are questions that I get asked so frequently that I wanted to answer them again. And they're not in any particular order. And these are some that I just got from the comment section of another video I posted. I'm just going to try to go through these. The first thing I want to answer is I get this question all the time. How did you decide to start your YouTube channel? Well, that was almost 4 years ago. In July of 2015, I made my first video for this channel. And it was during a period of time in my life when I was trying to take care of everybody but myself. I was trying to be everything to everyone in my life, and I was really burned out. And my therapist actually recommended that I started. She said, you need something for you that you can do that you enjoy, that is not for the other people in your life. And the other people in your life need to learn to do things for themselves. This is partly your fault, but it's your fault just as much as it is theirs. You have allowed this situation to evolve into what it is, and now you need to take control of it and change it. And the first thing you need to do is take time for yourself at least 2 or 3 times a week. You need to find a hobby that you can do that you enjoy. So and I didn't really have the confidence to start the channel, but she kind of pushed me into it. It was something I had been thinking about, but I didn't know if I should or not. I felt kind of unsure. But she said, just try it. Just make one video and upload it and see how you feel about it. And I did, and I loved it. And I've been doing it ever since. That was over almost 4 years ago and over 1,700 videos ago. That's how I got started. Other people ask me, what are the keys to a successful YouTube channel? I don't think it's really that simple. It's not like, okay, well, if you just follow these 3 steps, you will be guaranteed a successful channel. I think there are a lot of things that go into it. You have to be dedicated to it. It has to be a channel that you enjoy making content for. If you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it very long. If your motivation is to make money or be famous, you're not going to stick with it very long, because you need a more substantial motivation than that. You have to have passion for it. You have to be dedicated to it, which means you're going to have to give up time that maybe you devote to other things. You're going to have to make time consistently every week for your channel, because your subscribers are going to want consistent content. They don't want to follow someone who just makes a video every now and then. People lose interest and they unsubscribe and they wander off, People unsubscribe anyway. They unsubscribe for a lot of reasons. Sometimes you will lose people. I lose about 1,000 people a month, and I gain about 8,000 people a month, so it works out okay for me. But you have to do something you love, and you're going to have to invest time and effort in it. If you don't, you're probably not going to succeed. But then again, some people put a lot of work into their channel. They really do, but it never really seems to take off. I think part of it is luck. You just need to be kind of found, I guess, and really catch on. It may take a while, but for me, I didn't start it for that. I started it because I needed something that I could do for myself. I didn't do it because I was looking for money or fame or anything like that. I was kind of surprised when people started subscribing. It was weird because I couldn't believe it. I mean, I love it. I did not expect that. Okay, now I'm going to get into these questions here. The first question I have is, have you ever found a really valuable item in a Goodwill haul, jewelry, etc.? I guess it depends on what you call valuable. I found some cool stuff, but I can't think of anything right offhand that I found that was super valuable. I have found things like I found a vintage Coogie, I think it's pronounced Coogie, C-O-O-G-I sweater. I found a men's Coogie sweater in Goodwill once. It was brand new, actually. It still had the tag on it. I paid $3.79 for it, and I sold it for over $300. That was pretty cool. That was years ago. Okay. Next question. Do you watch ASMR videos yourself? I do not. They don't work for me anymore. They stopped working for me when I started to make my own videos. So I don't watch them anymore. When I try to watch them, I get so distracted by the video itself. I'm looking at it like, okay, they did this, but you know what? You could take this idea and you could add this, or you could do this with it. And I'm so distracted by looking at it as something that maybe I can get some ideas from. There are no tingles to be had. And honestly, I'm not sure why, but watching ASMR videos for me now makes me uncomfortable. For some reason, it makes me feel uneasy. I'm not really sure why, but no, I don't watch ASMR videos myself. Are you friends with any of the other ASMR artists? I have talked to quite a few. We've emailed back and forth, but that's about as far as it went. Some emails. I've done 2 collaborations, but as far as staying in touch with anyone regularly, I really don't. I wouldn't mind it, but it just hasn't really worked out that way. What's your zodiac sign? I get this question all the time, and I don't answer that question. I've talked about the stalker. I have to stop giving out so much information about myself. What was the rudest / most unnecessary thing someone has said to you while you were recording a video in a public store? I've never really had anybody say anything rude to me. I've made over 200 videos in stores. Only once has anyone asked me what I was. Only once has a store employee said anything to me, and that was in Roses. And I think he was a manager, came up to me and asked me what I was doing or why I was doing it, and he was fine with it. He looked at the shelf, said, "Looks good. Carry on. It looks nice. You did a good job." And he walked away, and that was the end of that. One time I was in Dollar Tree. I think I was organizing candles, and I don't know why, it really irritated me. I think it irritated me partly because I was at the very end of the video. We had like 2 minutes left. I was almost done. And this old man comes shuffling down the aisle, and he stops. And he's looking at me, and I can feel him looking at me. And I started to move because I thought, okay, he wants to look at this. I need to move. So I'm just about to back away. I was about to hit pause. If you see breaks in my videos in stores, it's usually me moving out of a customer's way. And he goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm organizing candles." He said, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "'Cause I feel like it." And he just kind of went, and he just walked off. And I don't know why that really irritated me. Like, it's none of your freaking business. Go away. But he just, "Why are you doing that?" "'Cause I felt like it." And he just shrugged and walked away. But that's it. I mean, otherwise, a lot of customers come and go. If they think weird things about me, you should know by now I don't care. I do make a concerted effort to stay out of the way. That is the number one rule for me in a store, is that you don't get in the customer's way. You move out of the way. If someone is trying to shop, you have to move. But they don't say anything to me. They don't, and if they look at me weird, I don't care anyway. I've been in stores enough myself and seen people doing weird things, and I will probably give them a weird look, but I don't think about it later. I just go on about my business. Look at my bracelet. I just got this today. Sorry, I wanted to show you this. I got this in the Goodwill in Burlington. I had to go to Burlington this afternoon. Isn't that cool? And it was brand new. It still had the tag. Somebody paid $25 somewhere for this bracelet. I got it for $2.99. Actually, no, it was $2.69 with my discount. I just want to show you that. But no, most of the time nobody says anything to me. But that old man really irritated me. But anyway, he didn't care. He just walked off. Next question: how was Virginia and your dad and your newish job? I guess Virginia's doing okay. The whole state, I reckon they're fine. My dad's doing great, and my newest job is great. I do love my new job. What is your favorite type of ASMR and your favorite tingle? My favorite ASMR has always been the same. That hasn't changed. It is unintentional, everyday stuff. Stuff that no one is trying to trigger ASMR in anyone, but they do. I love it when I'm in a store, and this happened to me. It was about a couple of months ago. I was in Goodwill, and there was this older lady a few feet away from me looking at some blouses or something, and she was kind of moving the hangers on the rack, and she started humming. I don't know what she was humming, but the tone and the volume of that humming along with the racks gave me the strongest tingles I have had in I don't know how long. It was unlike the normal trigger. This one was so strong. It went down this, like both sides, like right straight down here, down my spine, down my back, down to my knees, and I felt like my knees were going to buckle. It was so strong. It was like I had been tased or something. It was very strong and very good. I followed this woman around the store. I mean, not in a creepy way. I wasn't like near her, like right close to her, but I would always try to browse, and when she moved, I would kind of wander that way because she kept humming, and it was like the Pied Piper. And I thought if it wouldn't sound creepy, I would ask this woman if she would ever consider making an ASMR video, and all she would have to do was just hum anything. It wouldn't matter what it was. She had this very soft, delicate way of humming. Oh, it was beautiful. It was so good. If I could have found a non-creepy way to ask her, I would have asked her, would you ever consider making a video just humming? Like, you could come to my house and borrow my stuff. Would you do? But there's no non-creepy way to say that. So my favorite trigger always has been everyday real life stuff. And that hasn't changed. I think if anything, since I started making videos, I think it's actually gotten stronger. I think it triggers me more now than it did before I started making videos. The triggers seem to be stronger. Let's see. How do you find the time to work, to do videos, to go shopping, to cook for your family, and do mother stuff? Well, I never stop. I don't take a lot of breaks. I don't engage in leisure activities very often. I don't watch much television. I try to make good use of my time every day. I think not watching TV has made a big difference. Like right now, my kids are in the bed, and a lot of people are watching TV right now. I'm not. I'd rather do this, honestly. I try to budget my time. I try to keep a schedule, even if it's just in my head. I try to keep a schedule of, okay, I have this long to do this, and I have 15 minutes between this and this. I could get this done. And I try to fill in those gaps between things to get things done. And it really seems to help a lot. And I've just made a habit of that over the years. I think being a single mom really helps. You have to be organized, or your life is going to be a complete disaster. You have to be organized, or you will never get anything done. Your life will just be chaos, and I hate chaos. So a lot of it is just basically through necessity. I have become more organized and more efficient with my time. How do I find time to do it? I just do it. Honestly, I always have a list running in my mind of the things that need to be done, and I get them done. That's how I do it. And I also expect my kids to do work around the house. I expect them to do chores. I expect them to clean up after themselves. I don't clean up after them. If I have to clean up after them, if I have warned them repeatedly, I clean up with a trash bag, and they know that. So they are given ample opportunity to clean up or do whatever it is they need to do. If they don't do it, there will be a consequence for that. I know a lot of people don't believe in giving their kids consequences, but I find it's very effective. Real life has consequences, so I don't understand why you don't expect them to have any at home. Doesn't really prepare them for the real world. So I've only had to do that once, clean up with a trash bag for each of them. But anyway, I'm not running behind them cleaning up after them. I don't fetch things for them. I don't keep up with where their stuff is. That will free up a lot of your time. If my kids come to me and say, "Mom, where is this?" my automatic answer is, "I don't know. Where'd you leave it?" I don't look for it. I don't keep up with where their things are. And they don't expect me to because I've never allowed them to expect me to, if that makes any sense. And I know a lot of people think that's harsh, but you're not raising kids. You are raising future adults that are going to have to go out into the world and take care of themselves. I was raised to take care of myself. I'm trying to raise my kids to do the same. That helps free up time as well. You don't have to do everything for everybody. I think a lot of women try to do that. That's what I tried to do. That's what about burned me out 4 years ago and how I ended up seeing a therapist, because I was trying to be everything to everyone. And that way lies madness. Don't do that. You deserve time for yourself. But I'm always here for my kids if they need me. They know that. I'm always available. Okay, this question. Okay, which countries have you been to? It says, have you been here? If so, which countries? I guess they mean whatever country they live in, but I don't know where they live. The only other countries I've been to at this point are Mexico, Canada, and the Bahamas. That's it. Although I am planning a trip to Scotland. Not this year, probably not next year. It may be 2021 before I can do that. But I am planning a trip for my kids and me to Scotland. I'm really excited about that. I've always wanted to go there, so I would like to see Ireland too. I don't know if we'll be able to do both in that trip. Probably not. But those right now, those are the only 3 countries I've been to at this point. What's your favorite type of video to film? See, that depends on the day. That depends on the mood I'm in, because I'm always in the mood to do different things. And I do whatever I feel like doing that day. If I don't feel like doing it, I don't do it. So they're all kind of my favorites, but it depends on the mood I'm in at the time. And if I'm in the mood to do it, that's what I do. And it's always my favorite. So I guess I'm lucky because they're all my favorites. It's not work to me. There's no work involved to me. It's all a pleasure. What's your favorite role play character you have ever played? And again, that's kind of the same thing. I do the characters I want to do when I want to do them. If I don't want to do them, I don't do them. Because I kind of feel like if I tried to do a role play with a character when I just wasn't in the mood for it, I don't think it would be any good. I'd have a hard time getting into it, I think. Lynette is the easiest character because she's a lot like women that I grew up around. But I think Charity's the most fun because she's the complete opposite of me. And it's kind of fun coming out of yourself a little bit and trying to be something that you're not. It's kind of like I saw the preview for the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. I cannot wait to see that. It's coming out in October. I love Joaquin Phoenix. I think he has a real ability to just become whoever it is he's playing. I think he's really good at that. And there's something kind of fun about being able to transform into someone that's not like you. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I went to see Godzilla. Awesome movie. I really enjoyed it. If you're a Godzilla fan, you might like it. I enjoyed it. I watched Godzilla when I was growing up, and I've always been a Godzilla fan. Okay. What is your favorite song, food, and color? My favorite song has always been Oh Holy Night. Well, not always, but Josh Groban's version of Oh Holy Night is my favorite. And not because it's religious or anything. It's just something about that song. I think it's just very moving to me. My favorite food, it's kind of like my videos. It depends on what I'm in the mood for. If I had to pick one, I guess I would pick pizza. It's probably the one I would pick. My favorite color is blue. I don't know if you've noticed. I like blue stuff. Do you always buy props for a video that's already in your mind, or are you inspired by things you see in the shop and then come up with ideas? It's a little bit of both. Sometimes when I'm wandering around in Goodwill, I will see something. You're liable to find anything in there. There's all manners of stuff in Goodwill. And I will see something and I will go, oh my God, you know what we could do with that? And this is all in my mind. I'm not saying it out loud, but I'm looking at it thinking, you know what I could do with that? I could take this and I can make a whole storyline with this person and they have this thing going on and that would be perfect for that. And I will buy it. I don't always make the video right away, but I have it there. Sometimes I get requests from people or I'll get an idea and I have to actively seek out props for the video. Some props are easy to find, some are not easy to find. Um, I've had to shop for everything from a gavel to old cell phones, and it's actually kind of fun. The challenge is fun. All right, how did you decide? Now, how did you decide to start filming your shopping and organizing? Well, that came about just by chance, honestly. We had gone to see the eclipse down in South Carolina. Was that in 2018 or 2017? I think it was 2017. We went down there for that because it wasn't going to be a full eclipse, total eclipse up here. So we went to South Carolina. And we got down there early because I was afraid there might be traffic and I didn't want to miss it. So we got down there really early. And driving back was another story. It took forever to get home. But so we get down there early and we have a lot of time to kill. So we ended up going into this Family Dollar. And we were just wandering around in the Family Dollar. And it just popped into my mind. I thought, well, Mary, get your cell phone out. But you know what? Just make a video of just stuff in the store. Just walk around and show them stuff in the store. I didn't know if anybody would want to watch it or not. I was just bored. I was just trying to find something to do. So I did that, and people loved it. So many people said, oh, you got to do more of these. You got to do more. Can you go to this store? Can you go to this store? Can you look at this section? And so I started doing more of those kind of videos. And in one of them, I was in Walmart, and we ended up over in the cosmetics department. And I ended up fixing some of the nail polish. And again, a lot of people said, can you do more of that? Can you do a video of just the nail polish where you organize it? So many people asked for it. I just started doing videos of just organizing nail polish. So that's it. It just all kind of evolved. It wasn't like something I did, like, oh, I have an idea. I'm going to go to a store and I'm going to do this. It just kind of happened. So it was a nice, I guess Bob Ross might say it was a happy accident. It wasn't really a mistake. It was a, I don't know, serendipity, I guess. I don't know. Oh, let's see. I lost my place. Oh, what got you into ASMR? Well, I've had ASMR since I was a kid. Back when I was probably around 5 or 6 years old was when I first remember experiencing it. And there's no name for it back then, of course, but I always enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the tingles and the triggers of ASMR. I didn't talk about it a lot. The few times I tried to talk to somebody about it, like my mom or a friend of mine, they would just look at me like I was weird. And, so I just didn't talk about it anymore. And, when the internet came along, every now and then I would go online and I would search for things like scalp tingles, sound triggers, just trying to find, like, am I the only person who experiences this? And for years, I didn't really find anything. And then one day, I first learned of the term ASMR, and I started to read about it. And around that same time, I had been checking out YouTube, and I would watch videos of people typing because there are certain typing sounds that I really like. Not all typing sounds. It has to be the right kind of keyboard. It has to be done in the right way. And I was watching typing videos on there. I think Hush Virginia was the first one that I found. And then I discovered there were ASMR videos on there just dedicated to ASMR. And it was like Christmas morning. This whole world opened up for me. And I started watching ASMR videos. And once I found Gentle Whispering, I found her when she didn't have a ton of subscribers. When I found her, I said, that's it. That's what I've been looking for. She has everything that works for me. She is perfect. And so I started watching her instead of everybody else. And up until I started my own channel, she was pretty much the only one I ever watched. But once I started making videos myself, they stopped working. They don't really work for me anymore, so I don't watch them anymore. What animals have I owned? Well, I tell you, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. Okay, I mean, we lived on a dirt road out in the middle of nowhere. We were the only house on the entire road, and this road was almost 2 miles long. There was nobody on the road except us until I was 13, and then there was another place another place came along. But one of the things about living out in the middle of nowhere like that is that you become a dumping spot for people who have pets they don't want. Litters of puppies, litters of kittens, grown dogs and cats. We would wake up sometimes in the morning and people would come a lot overnight. And the next morning you get up and there's like puppies on your doorstep, or kittens, or a random dog. One time there was a pig in our front yard. That actually came from a farm that was down this way. There was a pig in our yard one morning, and one Sunday morning I went out to get the paper, and there was a cow standing in our driveway. That belonged to the guy down there too. There was a hole in the fence and the cow had gotten out. I don't remember how the pig ended up at our house, but they had come all the way down this dirt road and just came to our house. I guess they were just, I don't know, thinking they're people, they'll feed me or something. I don't know. It was really bizarre to walk out and there's a cow in my driveway. It was like foreshadowing Lynette or something. I was maybe 10 years old. I got to walk the cow back. We put a rope around his neck. My dad called the guy, and I got to put a rope around his neck and walk him back. We drove the pig back. I had to sit in the back of the truck and hold it. So anyway, we ended up with a lot of animals dumped at our house. Well, unfortunately, there were so many, there was no way we could keep them all. And back then, the county I lived in, the shelter, the dog pound there was very small, and they only had a few cages. It's actually expanded quite a bit now, and it's much more humane. But back then, animals that ended up in the pound, the vast majority of them never came out. They were euthanized, and I knew that. I was aware of that. And it broke my heart as a child because I knew that most of these animals we couldn't keep. And that's where they would go. And I would see that white truck pull up in the driveway and I would just cry because I knew where these animals were going and I knew it was going to more than likely happen to them. And it was really bad, especially if people dumped them there like on a Friday night, and then they would end up being there all weekend. And sometimes the guy from the pound couldn't get out there right away. It might be several days before he could come pick up the animals. And we would feed them and take care of them until the guy could come. And my brother and I would get attached to them, especially like a little litter of kittens or puppies, You get so attached to them. And we would both cry. I mean, we would just bawl our eyes out when the guy from the pound came, because we would have to let him go. And it hurt my parents too. They would have to say, we are really sorry, but we just can't keep all these animals. And everybody we knew got sick of us asking, do you want these puppies? Do you want these kittens? We would try to find homes for them if we could, because we knew if they went to the pound, they probably would never come out. But we did keep some. Most of the pets I had growing up were some of the ones that people just dumped at our house, and we were able to keep. We kept quite a few. We had several cats, several dogs that people had just dumped there, and we were able to keep. I wish we could have kept more. I wish there was another option, but it made me so angry that these people would do that. It really made me angry. It made me sad and angry at the same time that so many people would do that and leave the burden to us to deal with, and it made me very angry. So anyway, sorry, this is off track. I just thought of that. What pets have I owned? I have had dogs. I've had cats. I had a hamster in middle school. He never liked me, though. Every time I tried to pet him or pick him up, he'd bite me. He liked my mom. My mom could hold that little joker all day, and it would crawl around, and it would get in her lap and go to sleep. That thing hated me. He would bite me. He was a jerk. I'm the one who picked him out and paid for him with my allowance, and he hated me. Anyway, I had a hamster. We raised two little clutches of baby squirrels. I don't know if it's called a clutch, but there was a lot of logging that was done around the property. Jordan Lumber Company owned a lot of the land around where we lived, and they would come and do logging. They would cut, a big section of trees. And my dad knew some of the guys that were doing the logging. And 2 different times, they cut down a tree with a squirrel nest in it, and it had baby squirrels in it, and the mother abandons the nest. You cut the tree down. They won't leave it because it has a squirrel nest in it. They have to cut the trees. So both times they brought the baby squirrels to us, and they were so small. They didn't have their eyes open. They didn't really have any hair. They were just like newborn baby squirrels. And both times there were 3 baby squirrels. And I'm doing this because I can remember holding them in my hand. They were so small. They were like little oversized jelly beans. You could just hold them in your hand like this and they'd squirm. And we would have to go to the vet and get a special formula. And at first we would feed them with a dropper. And then we moved up to a little bottle that we would feed them with. And my dad designed this huge cage that we would keep inside because both times winter was coming. It was getting cold. They couldn't stay outside, obviously. They couldn't take care of themselves. So we wanted to set up something for them to stay in as they got bigger, over the winter. And my dad cut a dogwood tree and cut the limbs off and put it inside the cage, had it all closed off, had a little door. And they would stay in there. And as they grew quickly, and they would climb around in there. And at night, when we were at home, we would let them out. And they would climb all over everything. They would sit on your shoulder. They would get down in your shirt. They would get in your pocket. They were so cute. And then in the springtime, when they were big enough and it was warm enough, we would take them out and we would let them go. And it's always kind of bittersweet to let them go. It's like, well, they're gonna get to live, but I'm gonna miss them, And we all 6 of them lived, and they all 6 we were able to let them go the following spring. So for a little while, I had squirrels. We had some quail. For a little while, we had some quail. That was kind of cool. I don't remember how we came to have a quail, but we had a quail. I don't know where it came from. It was kind of my brother's pet. What else have we had? I had 2 pet toads. Now, let me tell you, when I was a girl, I was not really a girly girl. I loved to play outside. I spent most of my childhood playing outdoors. I didn't have anybody to play with. There were no kids in the area, like none. And my brother was always kind of an indoor kid. He didn't really like playing outside. So I would go and run through the woods and play in the woods and go fishing and play in the creek. I mean, that's what I did all throughout my childhood. And one summer, for whatever reason, I made pets out of these 2 toads. One was kind of a charcoal gray color, almost black, and the other one was a light gray. The light gray one was big. It was a big toad. And the little black one was small. It wasn't big, but it was a toad. It wasn't a frog. I can tell the difference. The toad lived in this rotten log out in the woods, and the gray frog, the little toad, had made a hole under a cinder block near my dad's shop. My dad was a gunsmith, and he had a gun shop on our property. He lived under that cinder block. So what I would do every day, it was summertime, so I was out of school. Every day I would go, we had these grapevines. We had an apple orchard, a peach orchard. We had 4 different types of grapes on this huge thing. We had peaches, pear trees, pecan trees. We had 7 acres of land, and we had all these things. And I would go to, there was one specific type of grape, and the leaves, the Japanese beetles loved to eat the leaves on this one type of grape. It was at the far end. And I would take a container, one of my mom's freezer containers, fill it half full of water, and I would go to the grapevines, and the Japanese beetles were just clumped up on those leaves, and I would hold the thing of water under there and just thump the leaves, and of course the Japanese beetles fall off and they get in the water. They also make good bait. I also used them a lot to go fishing with. There was a pond about a quarter of a mile away that I loved to go fishing at. I still love to fish there. You thump them in there, and you have this, you end up with a clump of Japanese beetles, and they try to get on top of one another and dry off and fly away, so you have to keep poking it down so they don't dry off. So I'm carrying this thing and I'm poking them down, and I walk out into the woods where the black toad is. The little blackish grayish toad I named Molly. Was it Molly? One of them only had one eye. One of their eyes was messed up. I think it was Molly. I think Molly only had one eye. So anyway, I would go out to where Molly was, and she got to where she would come to me. I would go out there where the rotten log was, And at first, I'd just sort of smack my hand on the ground, and she would come out. She would come to the edge of the rotten log, this little toad, and I would pick a beetle, a Japanese beetle, out, and they'll grab onto you. They have these little hooks on their feet, and they grab you, and I'd pull it out, and I would kind of get it off my fingers to where it couldn't grab me, and I would hold it out, and Molly would just snack it out with her little tongue, and eat it. And I would give her 2 or 3 of those, and then I would go to the shop where the gray toad was. Now the gray toad had the funniest name. I don't know what made me pick this name. There was some politician at that point who was running for something. I don't know if he was a congressman or what. His name was Rufus Edmonston, and I named that toad Rufus Edmonston after the politician. Maybe the toad looked like him. I don't know. I don't remember why I named him Rufus Edmonston, but that was his name. So I would go find Rufus Edmonston, and he would poke. He wouldn't come all the way out from under every time. Sometimes he would come all the way out to get his food. Usually he'd just kind of poke his head out, when I came, and I would do the same thing with him. Get a beetle, turn it where it couldn't grab me, hold it. I would hold it maybe that far away from his face, his little head, and he would do the same thing. And he would eat more than Molly would, probably because he was bigger. He would eat 4 or 5 of them. And then if I had any left over, I would go fishing with them. I would try to get enough so I could use some for bait when I went fishing. Sometimes I also catch crickets or little tree frogs. I fished with little tree frogs. I know it's terrible, but I did. Worms. Sometimes I could dig up some worms to go fishing with. Sometimes I used artificial bait. It just depended on what I felt like doing that day. So I had 2 toads as a pet. Unofficial pets, but they were my pets that summer. I fed them all summer. Sometimes I'd go down there twice a day and feed my toads, Molly and Rufus Edmonston. I had a bird. I had a pet finch in college. And one day a friend of mine was over at my apartment, and my balcony door was open, and he opened the cage door. I don't know why. You could see the bird in there, but he decided to open the door. And the bird took advantage of the opportunity, flew out, and went right out the sliding door and was gone. I never saw it again. So that was my one experience with a bird. Yeah, I think that's about it. But that's my pets. Those are the pets I have had. Has anyone ever told you your whisper or accent or demeanor is relaxing and calming? I have heard that. I think probably the first time I ever heard that was when I lived in Illinois. I lived in Illinois for about a year back in 1999, 2000. And of course, up there, I was in the northern part of Illinois, about an hour north of Chicago. I could get on the train and be in Chicago in about an hour. I went to Chicago several times while I was there. But people up there don't sound like me. And everywhere I went, if I happened to talk, people would just stare at me. And I remember there was this woman that I worked with who just said, would it sound weird if I just came and listened to you talk sometimes? She said, there's just something about listening to you talk. She didn't sound like I'm sounding right now, but she was from Wisconsin. I love the way people from Wisconsin talk. They have the coolest accent. She said, just the way listening to you talk just relaxes me so much. She said, I can come over here and I'm all stressed out and I'll listen to you talk for 5 minutes and I feel so much better. I said, yeah, that's fine. Sure. I think my accent got worse up there because people loved it so much, and you really start putting on. You don't really mean to. It just kind of happens. So I have heard that. I never thought I would use it. I never thought it would be like this. I never thought I would use it in a YouTube channel. Of course, back then YouTube didn't exist. Do you still do eBay? Not really, no. I got fed up with eBay. They've changed a lot of their policies and procedures over the years to the point that I don't mess with them anymore because I just don't think it's worth it. I don't even recommend it to people anymore unless you sell a ton of stuff every month. You're not really going to make any money on it, and they will hit you hard with fees, and then you have PayPal fees, and then the money that's left over, you have to pay taxes on it. I mean, it's like, what's the point? So I don't really do it anymore. How do you feel about having a platform where you can help people every day? I love it. I love it. I never expected that. But to know it's like a win-win for everybody. I have something that I can do that I enjoy, but it's also something that helps people all over the world every day. I mean, people that I will never meet, most of them, people everywhere have told me, I sleep better at night. You help me deal with stress. You help me calm down. I want to thank you for that. It's a wonderful feeling. It's something I never expected, but I kind of feel like I was born to do it, if that makes any sense. I feel like I was just kind of born to do this, and I am so grateful to live in a time and place where I can. I mean, no other human, no other generation in existence has ever had this opportunity, and the opportunities that we have. I'm so grateful to live when and where I do so that I can do this, because it helps me just as much as it helps you, and it's the best thing. It's the best thing. I don't ever want to stop. I hope I never have to. I really do. I hope I never have to. It's wonderful. How do you deal with life's rough patches? Sometimes I deal with them better than others. Sometimes I don't deal so well. Um, I go through rough patches just like everybody else. I have personal issues, family issues, just like anybody. I think the thing that helps for me is to try to step back and get some perspective on it, whatever it is. And to also try to remember that nothing lasts forever. I think there's a proverb, and it's something along the lines of, it can't rain every day. It can't rain every day. Yeah, this is bad right now, and we need to solve this problem. We need to correct this problem, but it's not going to last forever. And we will get through this. And I keep that positive mindset of, we will get through this. We will. I don't try to think about it in a negative way. We will get through this. And I also look at things and ask myself, is this going to matter in 5 years? Yeah, this sucks right now, but in 5 years from now, am I still going to be dealing with it? Am I still going to be thinking about it? Probably not. So it helps me get a little more perspective on it. Is it going to matter in 5 years? Is it going to matter next year? Most of the stuff that stresses me out is stuff that if I can stop and just think a minute, this is not that big of a deal. There is no need to get this bent out of shape about it. Not everything, obviously, but, some things. My parents are getting older, and I have to face the fact that inevitably, eventually, I'm going to lose them. And I don't know how I'm going to deal with that. That worries me a lot. I don't know how I would get through that. That's going to be hard. My kids growing up and moving away is going to be hard. But you can't worry about it too much ahead of time. You're just going to have to deal with it when it comes, and know that over time it's going to get better. If there's anything you can do to make it better, do it. If there's any action you can take to improve the situation, do it. But if there's nothing you can do, you just have to ride it out and try to maintain a positive attitude. I mean, that's what I do. Have a good cry every now and then. That helps too. It helps release tension. The tears, the crying, helps release the toxins and stuff in your body that build up from that. And it really makes you ever notice how you feel better after you cry? A good cry? That's why. And it's very therapeutic. What is your all-time favorite Goodwill / thrift store find? I have not even gotten through the first page. My favorite thrift store find is something I didn't even buy. And this was 20 some years ago, and I'm still mad at myself about it. I don't even know why I'm so focused on it. This was at Carolina Thrift when they were at their original location on High Point Road in Greensboro. This was in about 1997. I even remember. It was the late 90s, about 97. I had been living in Greensboro for about a year, so it would have been 97. I went in there, and I even remember where it was in the store. I found this leather bag. It was about that long. It was a drawstring leather bag, and it was made of super thick leather. It was really thick, and it had metal eyelets on it and a leather strap. And I wanted that bag so bad. I don't know what it was about that bag. I wanted it so bad. But it was $25. I still remember it had a white price tag on it, and it was $25. And at the time, I thought, that's too much. I don't want to pay that for that bag. No, I can't get it. So I put it back. Well, it stayed on my mind. And I thought, no, I know it was $25, but I really, really want that bag. And I went back the next day, and it was gone. It was the only one, and it was gone. And I still kick myself. I have never found another leather bag like it. It was extremely thick leather. I think it was suede on the outside. The inside was just regular leather. And it was brown. It was a light, not a super light brown, like a medium beige bag. I'm still mad at myself. I don't know what brand it was. I have no idea. I'm still mad at myself. And I still kind of catch myself looking for it when I go in thrift stores. I've never seen another one like it anywhere. That was my favorite find, and I don't even have it. Do you ever plan to do a meetup? I wish I could. I really wish I could, but I can't. I'm too scared to. It worries me. I worry about stalkers because there are crazy people out there. And I just don't feel comfortable letting people know when I'm going to be somewhere, which is why when you see videos of me in places, by the time you see it, I'm long gone. I've been gone from there for hours or maybe even a day or two. I'm not there anymore. Simply because I just don't think it's smart to let the whole world know when you're going to be somewhere. So I wish I could. I really wish there was some way I could do it. But honestly, right now, I don't know how I could unless, like, I talked to people ahead of time and felt more comfortable. But even then, I would still worry, well, you can feel comfortable, but you don't know them. They could be planning something terrible when you show up. I mean, you don't know. So I wish I could, but I don't plan to do it. I really wish I could do it, but I can't. Anyway, let's see. Are there any real life situations you use as inspiration for your role plays? Lots of real life inspirations for my role plays. I'm not going to name names or anything, but yeah, Harvest and Lynette are definitely based on real life situations. Charity, no. I've never really known anybody like her. She's not really based on anybody, but Lynette is it's a combination of all these women I knew growing up. My mom used to go to this beauty shop when I was a kid. Sometimes she would go on Saturday morning to get her hair cut or get a perm. And if she was getting a perm, you were going to be there a while. And this was back before the internet, so I didn't have anything to do unless I brought a book to read or something to play with. Otherwise, I was stuck reading old hair magazines and listening to the gossip in the beauty shop. So I ended up listening to the gossip. And I guess it all just kind of seeped into my head over the years, and I just kind of retained that ebb and flow. Steel Magnolias did a good job of capturing the way women talk in a beauty shop. It was lots of that. So that was the inspiration for Lynette. And a lot of the girls I went to school with had the middle name of Lynette. And I was always jealous. I always wanted the middle name of Lynette because I thought it sounded so fancy. And my middle name is one that I always got laughed at for. I even had teachers kind of stifle a snicker, the first day of school when they read your full name out on the roll. And I had one teacher go, "Is that your real name?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "Wow." Talk about, great way to start the year off. I'm like, great, I get to spend the rest of the year listening to you. I get to come to your class every day. That's great. I got picked on a lot for my middle name. So I always thought it would be nice to have a name that people didn't laugh at. So when I had to think of a name for this character, there was no contest. Her name had to be Lynette. That just had to be her name. There was no question. It took 2 seconds to decide. But Lynette was supposed to be a one-shot deal. I was going to make one video with her, and that was it. I didn't plan on doing any more, but a lot of people liked her, and they wanted to see more. So she's kind of a shallow character. It's hard to come up with stuff for her to do. Well, they all are. They're all kind of shallow. But I just keep coming up with stuff for her to do because people like her, and Charity and Harvest too. Um, but yeah, a lot of the stuff that they do and say comes from people. Yes, I've known two people. I've had two people in my life that were a lot like Harvest. They're a lot more fun in the role play. In real life, they're not. They're not so much fun. Ugh, ugh, this is a question. What advice would you give someone on how to be a good mom? Oh God, that's a tough question. Really, it's honestly tough. Do the best you can every day. Don't compare yourself to other moms. Don't go to these mommy blogs and mommy websites. I'm sorry, just don't. I used to go read the stuff on babycenter.com when my older son was a baby, and it made me feel like crap. It made me feel like my baby was substandard or defective because, you get these women on there in these message boards and they get into this pissing contest with each other. It's like, my little baby's 3 weeks old and he's already doing his own taxes. Is that normal? Oh, that's sweet. My 2-week-old was walking by the time she was 3 hours old. And it was just stuff like that. And I'm sitting here like, my kid's not doing any of that stuff, And he walked late. Nothing wrong with him. The kid had no interest in walking, okay? Even when he was over a year old, you'd pick him up and try to help him walk. So you're like, come on, let's go. And he would just sit back down and look at you like, what? I'm fine right here. What are you doing? He would give you this look like, what the hell is wrong with you? He had no interest in walking, and I was really freaking out. But one day, literally, one day, he never pulled up on furniture. He crawled for like 2 days. He wouldn't even crawl. He would roll everywhere. He rolled to get around. He would just roll his little self. One day, I am not kidding you, 24 hours, he stood up and took off. He just stood up and walked. Literally, one day he couldn't walk. The next day he was walking. Within a week he was trying to run. I mean, it was crazy. What I'm saying is, especially when your kids are little, they're going to do things on their own time. Trust your pediatrician and listen to your mom or any other woman in your life that you look to for advice. Listen to them. If your doctor thinks there's an issue, of course, you want to deal with that. But if your pediatrician and your mom or whoever says, look, everybody matures at different rates, don't worry. Don't worry. Don't go on these websites. Don't read these message boards. To me, they just stressed me out and made me feel like a terrible mom. You end up with a bunch of harvests on there too. Don't just ignore that. I quit looking at it altogether. By the time he was a year and a half, I just quit looking at it completely. It just depressed me to read it. And it was just these moms trying to one up one another. That's all it was. So I quit. Do the best you can. Provide consistency for your kids. Don't avoid constant upheavals in their lives. It may not show right then, but it does mess with them. It messes with them. Don't do that if you can avoid it. If you're single, don't date a bunch of people in and out of your house, in and out of your life. I don't think that's a good thing. It's not good for your kids. Protect them, but also let them explore and do things on their own. Help them gain their independence. Help them learn to do things for themselves. Don't do everything for them. Don't. And don't let them be disrespectful to you or any other adult. I know you may think it's cute when they're little. It's not so cute when they're 16. Don't let them be disrespectful. Teach them respect for other people. Teach them to respect themselves. Make sure they do well in school. Help them with their schoolwork whenever they need it. Just be there for them. Spend time with them. Let them know that you love them. Tell them every day. I don't care if they get sick of it. My kids get sick of it. I tell them every day. I don't care if they're leaving the house or if I'm leaving the house. I always make sure to tell them that because you never know when the last time it's going to be that you see them. Love them. Don't let them get away with murder. Make sure they understand there are rules and there are boundaries and you need to stick to those rules and boundaries. Let them know that no means no. When you tell them no, it doesn't mean ask me again. That's a big one around here. That's a pet peeve of mine. If I've told you no, we're done. You don't need to keep asking. But do the best you can. And listen to your instincts. and just try your best every day. That's really all anybody can do. Nobody's perfect at it. There is no, you don't get a handbook on how to raise perfect kids, because you can't raise perfect kids. Nobody's perfect. You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Your kids aren't perfect. They're not going to be good at everything. There are going to be some things that they really struggle with, and you're going to have to help them. That's part of life. How do you be a good mom? Just try your best every day. Consistently every day. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You just have to try your best every day. And don't take it so seriously. Don't stress yourself out too much. Let's see. Oh, I don't want to talk about that one. Let's see. Have you ever thought about doing personal stuff? Have you ever thought about doing a collaboration with another ASMR artist? I have. I've actually done 2 on here. If you search for Southern ASMR sounds and collaboration, you'll find them. I haven't been asked to do any, so those are the only 2 I've ever been asked to do. How did you get started with thrift store shopping? Oh God, that goes way back. I'm gonna have to do like a part 2 to get to all these. That goes way back to when I was a kid. I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. Now I grew up poor. We didn't really have any money. We didn't. I was pretty poor. We didn't have a nice house at all. I grew up in a little single-wide trailer that was old when I lived in it. It was one of the really, really old ones, like the ones on My Name is Earl. It's kind of like that. We didn't have nice cars, nice clothes. We didn't have nice stuff at all. That doesn't really relate. Well, that kind of does. My dad was in the Navy. He was a CB in the Navy, and he is a Vietnam vet. He was a CB over in Vietnam, and so anyway, he stayed in the reserves for 20 years probably. And every 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, he would have to go do stuff for the reserves. And one of the things they did as CB's combat battalion, construction battalion, they build things and they fight. I think that's their motto: we build, we fight. And their mascot is like a little a bee with a gun and a wrench or something. I can't remember. But they had to go do some work on the wiring in a big warehouse in Charlotte that belonged to Goodwill. It was a big storage warehouse that belonged to Goodwill. And they were working on the lighting or something in there. And they also built some picnic tables for the workers at the warehouse. So they would have somewhere to go out and sit outside to eat their lunch every day, because they didn't have anywhere to go really eat lunch. They didn't have a break room or anything. So they asked the guys to build some picnic tables. So they did. They built about like 5 or 6 picnic tables. Anyway, they spent, I don't know that they spent the whole 2 weeks down there, but they were down there for several days at least. And when they got done, the folks at the warehouse, the manager or whoever said, as a way to say thank you, we would like to give you guys an opportunity to come down here with your families, and we will let you come into the warehouse and go. It was like Disney World to me. Oh my God. It was like Christmas morning times 1,000. So you can bring your families down here for, one day. You come down. Anything you want, anything you find in here, we will give you a really good deal on. They practically gave you whatever you wanted. I know I was small. I was a little kid, but I walked in. We got to go down there. I was so excited. So we go down there. It's my mom and my dad and my brother and me. And we walk in these big doors, right? We come into this warehouse, and it's like, oh my God, these huge wire bins. They look like they were 20 feet high, full of stuff. And you could actually climb up and go into the huge bin and look at the stuff. You could just dig down like a rat, just digging a tunnel down through there. Everything you can imagine in there. Oh my God. I found so many good things that day. We all did. We found wonderful stuff, and they charged us almost nothing for the stuff we picked out. I actually got a brand new bike. It was a really nice, like a BMX bike. It was brand new. I think they charged my parents like $1 for it. Oh, I was so excited. It was the nicest bike I had ever had in my life. All I ever had up to that point was just hand-me-down bikes that my cousins had outgrown, or my brother. I never had a bike that nice. I remember I found a leather bullwhip. I always wanted one. I wanted to be like Indiana Jones. I had a big crush on Indiana Jones. And I found a bullwhip. I bought that. And I remember I got a leather bracelet. I remember they charged me 10 cents for the bracelet. I don't know why I remember that, but the bracelet was 10 cents. The whip was like 50 cents or something. And I found some other stuff, but those are the things I remember most. That started my love of thrift shopping as a little kid. And I kept doing it when I was out on my own because I was a broke college student. I couldn't really afford to spend much on clothing. And because I was working my way through school, I got student loans. My parents couldn't really afford to help me. So I was kind of on my own, you know. And so to save money, I would, if I needed new clothes, I would go to Goodwill and try to find, put together outfits and stuff. And I always got compliments on the clothes I wore. I've always had kind of a knack for putting together outfits in thrift stores and stuff. I've always had an eye for things like that. Actually, I love this top. This came from Goodwill. So did this. And this. These actually came from eBay. But that started my lifelong love affair with thrift stores. I still love it. Let's see. What developed your love of jewelry? I just love shiny things, honestly. And when I was in the cult, I was in a religious cult for about a year. I couldn't really wear any jewelry, and I actually got rid of most of my jewelry because they said it was, it's vanity and it's, the work of the devil and you don't need to wear a lot of jewelry. So I got rid of most of my jewelry. And when I got out, it was kind of like a celebration of being free from there. And I started collecting jewelry again. And over time, I just acquired a bunch. I buy most of it at thrift stores very cheaply. Have I ever inventoried my jewelry and gotten rid of stuff? Yeah, I actually had to do that a few months ago because my jewelry armoires, I have 3 big jewelry armoires. They're all full, and they were too full. So I actually went through and did get rid of about a third of it, stuff that I just never wear. Here's an oddly specific question. Have you ever been to South Dakota? No, I haven't actually. I've never been there. We took a lot of road trips as a kid, but I've never been there. Would you ever write or contribute research to an ASMR textbook if the opportunity presented itself in the future? Absolutely. Oh, I absolutely would. I would be glad to. Anything I could do to get more information out there about ASMR. I think there are a lot of people who could benefit from it. I would absolutely do that in a heartbeat. I would do that for free. You don't have to pay me. If anybody's writing a book and you want me to contribute, I would be more than happy to. I did actually do an interview with someone who was putting together a documentary. It's not just about ASMR. I don't know when or where it will ever air. I haven't heard any more from them, but they said they might include some of my stuff in the documentary talking about ASMR. That was pretty cool. Besides yourself, who do you think is the best ASMR artist on YouTube? I think I answered this. Some of these I did answer in the live stream. I don't think I'm the best ASMR artist at all. No, I do think Gentle Whispering is the best. I do. She's the best. I think she's way better than me. She's just got whatever it is, for me anyway. She's just got it, whatever it is. It's just perfect for this type of stuff. She's just the best I've ever seen. I think she's fantastic. She's my favorite, and she is the best in my opinion. Have you ever visited New York? And if so, where? I have been to New York, New York State. My brother, when he was in the Navy, was stationed there for a little while. He lived in Ballston, Ballston, not Boston. Ballston. Don't laugh, that did not sound the same. And my mom and I drove up there. It was right after I got out of 11th grade. I hadn't graduated high school yet, but we drove up there. It was just my mom and me. I don't know why my dad didn't go, but he didn't go. We drove up there to see him, and we went to Niagara Falls while we were there. And that's when I went to Canada. We went on up into Canada one day. We stayed up there for, about a week, I guess. So that was my trip to New York. It was nice. I remember it was really hot down here, and the weather was a lot better up there. It wasn't as hot. Have you ever had fans from your channel recognize you in public? Oh yeah, many times. I've lost count, honestly. It's happened a bunch of times. One time it happened to me in a store twice. 2 separate people recognized me in a Dollar General. A customer recognized me and the cashier. It was weird. It's like, my God, it's like a impromptu meetup right here in Dollar General. But yeah, I get recognized. I got recognized in a fast food drive-through one time, and my son was with me. He thought that was awesome. He said, "Mom, you're famous." I said, "No, I'm not really." Do you keep everything, or does a lot of it go back to the thrift stores? 95% of it does not stay here, because if I kept everything that I use in these videos, my house would look like an episode of Hoarders. I wouldn't have anywhere to put it all. And I don't like a lot of clutter. I have too much clutter in here now as it is, and it's all YouTube stuff. And I need to get some of this stuff cleared out of here. No, I don't keep the vast majority of the stuff. I either find someone who wants it and I'll give it away, or I will donate it. I just make rounds to a lot of the different charity shops and things around town. Whoever wants it, I give it to them. I don't keep it. I just can't. Let's see. Do you ever buy items at Target, or do you just do it to satisfy us for videos? I don't buy a lot of stuff in Target. Really, the only time I go there is when I'm making a video. No, some people seem to think I buy everything I show y'all in those walkthroughs. I don't. At least 60% of the time I walk out and don't buy anything at all. And if I do, I might buy like, oh, I need laundry detergent, or I need some paper towels. I'll buy something if I need it. I don't make a lot of impulse purchases at the stores. Sometimes I do, but not that often. I don't buy most of the stuff I show y'all in there. What are your favorite hobbies? My number one hobby will always be fishing. I know a lot of y'all don't like that. I love to fish. It's kind of a tradition in my mom's family. Most of the women in my mom's family love to fish. And generation after generation, they have taught the succeeding generations to fish. And the women seem to be much more interested in it. Most of the men don't fish. It's really weird. My grandmother taught me how to fish when I was 4. And I've been fishing ever since. So I've been fishing over 40 years. I don't keep what I catch. I always put them back. I don't throw them back. That's terrible. You can hold the fish and set it in the water so it can swim away. I never throw them in the water. That's terrible. I don't like that term, throw them back. No, you can hold the fish. Don't handle it a lot, because that slime on them helps protect them in the water. Don't mess with that. Hold them, minimal contact. You can set them down in the water in the edge. You can set them down and allow them space so they can swim away. That's what I do. I don't eat fish. I don't like fish. I don't like the way it tastes. I don't like the way it smells. I don't like the texture. I don't like the way it looks. There's nothing about fish I find appealing at all, except catching them. And I have people always say to me, "Oh, you've just never had any good fish." So they're literally telling me I don't know what I like. I've had fish cooked every which way. It's all disgusting. I don't like it. I also don't like seafood, and I don't like coffee. I know everybody don't want a Buick, but yeah, fishing will always be my favorite hobby. I think YouTube is my second favorite hobby. I love to read. I love to just be outside. I don't even care what I'm doing. I like going out and just doing yard work, if nothing else, or taking a walk, or I love that. I love naps. I really love naps. I love a good nap. I love to go to the movies. That's another thing I like to do. I love to be by myself. I prefer solitary activities. I prefer solitude. I'm happier when I'm by myself. I'm kind of a hermit that way. I like to be with people sometimes, but it drains me. I don't like crowds, but I can be in a crowd, but it does drain me very quickly. I draw my energy from being completely by myself. It's where you get your energy from. Extroverts get their energy from other people. Introverts get it from being away from people. They're drained by opposite things as well. I just prefer things that allow me to have solitude, just to be by myself. I like to fish by myself. I like to just be by myself, honestly. I always felt weird admitting. I would have never admitted that 10 years ago, because it made me feel like a freak. I'm not afraid to admit that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just part of who I am. If you're that way, don't be ashamed of it. Don't try to change yourself into something that other people think you need to be. Oh, you need to get out more. We need to break you out of your shell. I'm not in a shell. This is just who I am. There's no shell to break. I'm not that this is just what I prefer. This is what makes me happy. So I'm going to keep doing that. I don't mind going and seeing people, hanging out with people. I love to have long conversations with people. One-on-one is better instead of like a big group. But I love to have long, interesting conversations with people. I don't like small talk, but I do like in-depth, interesting conversations, intellectually stimulating conversations. The art of conversation is dying. So many young people can't even look at you when they talk to you, and they have very short attention spans. It's very sad. I make an effort to try to have long conversations with my kids to help them gain skills, help them talk to people. A lot of young people can't do that. Oh, I really went off on a tangent there. Wow, let's see. I know you've been in the community as a paralegal and things of that career. What other careers have you had in the past? Oh, God. I started out working as a cashier in a little grocery store when I was in high school. I started there the week I turned 16, worked there all through high school and the summer after. Then I went off to college and I worked in a drugstore. I started out working up front as a cashier again and putting out stock. And then I was moved back to the pharmacy. They had one of their technicians left and they needed a part-time pharmacy technician. So I took that job. I didn't make any more money, but it was something different. I didn't like working up front. So I started working in the pharmacy, and I worked in retail pharmacy. I've also worked in a hospital pharmacy. For a little while in college, I left the drugstore because the assistant manager I had to deal with was a total creep, and they refused to give me a raise. I was making minimum wage, and I was a really good worker, very hard worker. I had been there for 2 years at least. And I worked basically every weekend, every holiday, and they refused to give me a raise at all. And I threatened to quit. I said, I'm going to quit if you don't give me a raise. And it was like a game of chicken. Like this guy didn't believe I would actually quit. So I did quit. And for a little while, I worked at a Food Lion. Didn't like that either. And then I worked as a janitor at Laney High School, where Michael Jordan went to school. I was a janitor for a while at that school. And I scrubbed toilets, I cleaned bathrooms, I mopped floors, I took out trash. I did all the stuff a custodian in a school would do. And then I went back to the drugstore after that. I talked to the main manager dude, and he agreed to the raise that I wanted. So I went back to work there, and I stayed there. Evie's clawing at my door. I stayed there until I graduated, and then I worked in a factory. I worked in a Black & Decker factory. I made toaster ovens. I also made snake lights. I worked at the Eveready factory and helped on an assembly line packaging batteries. And I operated one of the other machines there that puts the sleeve on the battery. I did that also. Wow. I worked at McDonald's for a little while when I was in high school. Didn't like it. That's a hard job. It's a hard job. And I developed a dislike for the smell. You know, you walk in McDonald's, it always has that same smell. Ugh, I can't stand that smell now. And I developed it while I worked there. It was a miserable environment. I didn't stay there long. Yeah, let's see. I think that's about it. No. There was a little period of time where I worked in a factory making pipe fittings, like plastic pipe fittings. I think it was in Ashboro. I can't remember the name of it. I didn't work there long, just a few weeks before I started my job at Black & Decker. The job at Black & Decker wasn't going to start until like this point. And I went to a temp agency and said, do you have anything for these weeks? And they had a temp job at the pipe fitting factory, so I worked there. I'm telling you, I've always worked. It feels weird to not work. I love to work. I love to feel useful. So those are the other jobs I have had. Let's see. What would be your dream career, or do you like where you are now? I like where I am now. I think what I have now is the perfect thing for me. It wouldn't be perfect for everybody, but for me, this is the best my life has ever been, ever. I have a job that I love, that I only have to go to 3 days a week. Awesome thing about it is I can pick the 3 days I work. It doesn't matter. I can change them whenever I need to. So if I'm volunteering at my son's school, or there's something coming up where I need to be off, no problem. You can just work a different day. Or if you can only work 2 days this week, that's cool too. It's totally fine. And when I go in, if I'm in the office, I have certain stuff I have to do. And once I get it all done, I can go home. I'm paid hourly. So if I only have like 3 hours of work that day, I go in, I do my 3 hours of work. I check with my superior, and if there's nothing else, I get to go. And I only get paid for 3 hours, but it's okay. It's fine. That's not something that would have ever been an option for me until now. But thanks to YouTube, which I love, I can do that now. And I feel like I've won the lottery. I'm telling you, my life is better than it's ever been. And I think part of that, and this is something you can try, part of that is because I think I was able to successfully define my reality. Now you laugh. I laughed when I first heard of this. Quantum mechanics, Schrodinger's cat. Until you observe the cat, it is both dead and alive at the same time. Let's follow me here. If you want to change your life, you can define your reality. And I honestly believe that has something to do with where I am right now. I really do. I would have never dreamed this was possible. But I started probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Every day, I would just take a few minutes a day, like when I'm brushing my teeth in the morning and at night, or when I'm driving to work. I would imagine my life as I wanted it to be. And not really specific stuff, but I would imagine I want the happiest life for my kids and me. I want the best life. I want us all to be happy, and I want the best life for us. And I would just kind of imagine it in my head as if it had already happened. It's like watching a movie. You see it as it has already happened. And you see it like you're really watching it, like you're observing it as it's already happened. I know that sounds crazy, but I have defined my life in other ways. I have changed other things. I'm not going to go into details. There are things that have happened that were impossible, but they happened anyway. I still don't know how they happened. It still blows my mind. I think I defined my reality. I think I created this situation for myself because I willed it to be so. I mean, that wasn't all, it's still a lot of work. You can't just sit back and do nothing. But I think you can prepare yourself, and you can make opportunities for yourself. You just define your own reality. You can read about it online. Read Schrodinger's cat. I mean, it's a good place to start. You can define your reality. Just try it. Just try it. Pick anything. Have a little faith. And every day, whatever it is you want, and just picture it in your mind. You can meditate on it, or do what I did. Just do it when you're brushing your teeth or driving to work. Just imagine every day, and do it every day. You're going to have to do it for more than a week or two. I mean, I did this over the period of months. And I think you might be surprised at the changes that start coming along. I think it really works. I think there's something to it. I think you can define your reality. And I also think the more you do it, the better you get at it. But don't try to define negative things. I don't think it's good to try, like if you don't like someone and you want bad things to happen to them, I think it's bad karma to try to make negative things come into being. I don't think that's a good idea. Stick with positive stuff. That's just my opinion. And I know this is going way off the rails here, but I do think that had something to do with this situation being what it is. I'm not saying that's the only thing, but I do think it played a part in it. Because my life, I have the life that back 5 or 6 years ago, that I would have wanted. This is it. This is it. For my kids and me, this is the best it's ever been. And it just gets better every day. It's like it continues to grow, and it continues to get better. Give it a shot. It won't cost you anything. Give it a shot. Seriously. I'm sorry to go so off track there. Let's see. Can I share some of my channel statistics? I actually did that in the live stream. One of the things I want to tell you is I get over 7,000 comments a month on my videos. And some people get upset that I don't respond to all the comments, but honestly, I can't. It's over 7,000 every 30 days, and I just can't. I wish I could respond to all of them, but I honestly just can't. I'm sorry. I have over 1,700 videos, and people are commenting on all of them all the time, and it's just impossible. I would have to hire like a full-time person to do it. What is your advice for being so independent and providing financially for yourself and your kids? Um, wow. That gets into money management and stuff like that. Delayed gratification. Don't spend money on stuff you don't need. You need to know the difference between a need and a want. I could tighten up my budget severely right now if I needed to. I always have a plan B. If I wake up in the morning and my channel's been deleted, I have a plan for that. I have a plan to deal with that. I've had it in place for a couple of years now. Take care of yourselves. Don't expect somebody else to pay for your stuff. Nobody owes you that. You need to get used to taking care of yourself. And if that means going back to school or asking for a raise, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a good employee, screw up your courage and ask for a raise. A lot of women don't. Men are more likely to do that, and it does affect how much you make. I mean, it might not be a huge difference, but you could get more money that way. The worst thing to do is say no. Don't make decisions that are going to make your life harder. You have to stop and think, is this decision good for myself and my family? Is this really a good thing for me to do right now? If you're in school, stay in school. The best things you can do to have a good life, whether you have kids right now or not, and I'm not making this up, stay in school, finish school, at least finish high school, and get a trade or something if you don't go to college. Don't have kids before you're married. It is much harder to have kids when you're single. And stay employed. Doesn't matter what your job is. Stay in school. Don't have kids before you're married, and stay in school or stay employed. And it doesn't matter what your job is. If you do those 3 things, it will make a vast difference in your life, the quality of your life. If you already have kids, like I do, I have 2 kids, and you see this? That's how much child support I get. Okay, and I don't have any help paying for any, school expenses, medical expenses. That's all on me. I have to pay their health insurance premiums, school stuff, clothes, food, braces. Oh God, the braces. That's all on me. So I know it's hard. I know it's hard. God, I know. Once you're already in that situation, you just have to make the best of it, kind of like I've had to do. Well, okay, here we are. Got to make the best of it. It's just like being a good mom. You have to work hard every day. Look at your situation. There's always something you can do to improve it. I don't care where you are. You can look around and find one thing you can change that will make something better about your life and your kids' lives. There's one thing you can do at least. Every day, look for another thing you can do to make things better, whether it's going back to school, trying to find a different job, whatever it is. There's always a way you can improve your situation, whatever it is. You can do it. There are programs out there to help single moms, single parents, whether you're a mom or a dad. I have a good friend from high school who's a single dad with 2 kids, and we have gripe sessions because we have the same issues, right? There are always things out there. There are people out there that will help you, but you also need to learn to help yourself. You need to learn to be independent. Don't expect somebody to swoop in and solve your problems for you. You need to learn to solve your own problems, honestly. And if you've created messes, you have to clean them up. And your kids deserve it. Look at your kids. Look at them. They deserve that. They deserve the best from you, and you can give them that. And my kids are what keep me going a lot of days, especially when they were little and things were so hard financially and emotionally. I would look at their little faces, and they're the ones that kept me going when I just felt like collapsing and just, like, I give up. I can't handle this. You look at them and you have to keep going. It gives you the strength to go on. when everything else in your life feels like it's falling apart. It will get better if you keep working, you keep trying. You may have bad times. It may seem like things are getting worse. Keep at it. Keep working, and it will get better. It's not always going to be this way. It will get better for you. I don't know what form that will take. You can try the defining your reality thing. Just imagine, like I did with my kids, I want the best life for my kids and me. I want us to be happy, and I want us to have our best life. I want all of us to be happy and have our best lives. And I just kind of meditated on that every day. And I would imagine like watching a movie in your mind, like it's already happened, and you just imagine, what would that mean? It doesn't mean like a big mansion and, stacks of cash. That's not what I meant. That's not what I was looking at, because that's not what I meant. I don't mean that we need to be fabulously wealthy or what. I don't mean that. I just want us to be happy and have the best life we can have. Just try that. That's a heavy subject. I can't end on that. Just hang in there, and I know how it is. I can relate to what you're going through. A lot of people can. I know it's easy to feel like you're alone, when you're raising kids, and it's very isolating. I felt very alone. It's like I was on a desert island, and it was just me. I was here in Greensboro. I don't have any family nearby. I didn't have anybody to really watch my kids unless I paid them, and I didn't have any money to pay a babysitter. So they went with me pretty much everywhere that I went, because I couldn't afford to pay anybody to watch them. I did when I had to, but I couldn't afford to do it much. Let us end on a different note than that. If a fan sees you in public, how would you wish they would approach you? Well, I've said before, and I said in the live stream, if you see me, just come say hello. I don't care if I'm making a video. You can walk up and, or just off to in my peripheral vision or whatever. I'll pause the video. I can pause the video and speak to you. I'll be happy to. I'll speak to anybody. Don't be afraid. I don't bite. Now, if you have malicious intent, you want to come slap me or something, I slap back. Just know I'll hit you back. I grew up out in the country. I will defend myself. But if you just want to come say hey, I would be more than happy to. I love to meet people that like my channel. It makes my day. It just tickles me. So if you ever see me, just you approach me like you would anybody, like a friend you haven't seen in a long time or whatever. Hey, Mary, that's fine. That is fine. You don't have to be nervous. I'm just a normal person, just like you, So yeah, just come say hey, and I would be glad to say hey and talk to you. So anyway, that is it. Wow, I don't even know how long this video is, but that's a lot. So anyway, if I didn't answer your question, if you have a question that I did not get to, just put it in the comments, as long as it's not too personal. And remember, I don't discuss politics. I don't discuss religion. Those are two subjects I'm not going to touch. I'll be happy to answer anything else that you have, as long as it's not too creepy or invasive or whatever. I'll be glad to answer it. Just put it down there, and I'll probably just type a response. I don't think I'm going to do another one of these videos right now, because this one is ridiculously long already. So anyway, thank you so much for watching if you're still here. It's pretty long. And I will see you again later. Bye.